All right, let's break this down with CBS News senior political editor Steve Shigaris, who joins us now from Washington. Steve, good to see you. So what did you make of Donald Trump's explanation for all this?
Well, clearly he had 2 points to make. One is that he actually raised the money that he promised to raise, or at least almost all of it. And secondly, he spent a lot of time hitting the media as to our sort of sleaze factor in terms of asking him questions about this. Look, at the end of the day, if the question is, did he raise this money? Well, you know, him outlining the $5.6 million, I mean, it was like watching the old Jerry Lewis telethon. I was waiting for the tote board to come up and have Jerry Lewis and Ed McMahon read the totals, and then maybe Trump breaking the song afterwards like Jerry Lewis used to. But no, seriously though, it was, you know, he is explaining that he did this. And so at the end of the day, are people going to look at the process of how we got to this point, or are they going to look at the end result? And if the veterans who, by the way, Hillary Clinton and her surrogates are going after to basically suggest that Trump has been, quote, sleazy on this, you know, this is sort of a good explanation for him. Now, on the media part of it, you know, look, we're just doing our jobs and trying to get to the bottom of this stuff. It's been 4 months since he announced that they were going to raise $6 million for these charities. And, you know, it's about time we got an answer on that. Does that make us sleazy? I don't know. But from a political standpoint, it's not a bad play on his part. If you look at polling, Americans' view of the media is sinking year after year, and it's at the lowest point it's ever been, at least according to Gallup poll from last year. So, I mean, from a political standpoint, it doesn't hurt him to hit us. But at the end of the day, we're just doing our jobs as well.
He certainly knows the pressure points. I want to bring in Washington Post reporter Philip Bump, who's joining us as well. Phil, I want to ask you, did this surprise you? I mean, he called political reporters sort of the most dishonest people out there. Were you surprised?
Sure. No, I'm not. I mean, I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, if you've been paying attention to this campaign for greater than 2 weeks, you've heard him say something similar about the media in general, if not political reporters specifically. I mean, look, this is one of the first times that we've seen Donald Trump held accountable for something he said and asked to prove that what he's saying is true. He doesn't like that. He didn't like it. The Washington Post, David Fahrenthold, was the guy that kept hammering him on what was happening with these donations, where they were, how much he'd given. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like being held accountable. His whole life as a businessman, I'm sure he hasn't had the same sort of scrutiny as he's getting now, and obviously he's not handling it terribly well.
Yeah, Steve, you know, it's interesting. The headline seems to be out of this. This is how Donald Trump would treat the press should he become president of the United States. He alluded as much during that press conference, calling reporters sleazy, calling them disgusting. And when you think about the fact that when we look at what's happened with the VA, the Veterans Administration, it was the fact that people did a lot of great reporting on that brought those issues to light that are hopefully going to ultimately help those veterans. He doesn't like the scrutiny. He doesn't like the questions. He doesn't like the transparency. And in an age where the Obama administration, rightfully so, has been criticized for the lack of transparency with the press, how is this going to play out?
We'll have to see. I mean, as I mentioned before, from a political standpoint, I don't think it hurts him very much because Americans don't think very highly of us right now. And, you know, so I don't think that that's going to necessarily hurt him in terms of, you know, electoral strategy. But at the end of the day, you know, we're doing our jobs. And if he's going to try to intimidate us from doing our jobs because he's calling us names, I just don't think that's going to work. I don't think the media is going to back down because Donald Trump thinks we're sleazy or, you know, we're working too hard to find out the transparency involved in what he's doing and what other politicians are doing. That's what we do. That's our jobs. That's our job, and that's not going to stop because Donald Trump doesn't like it.
Phil, certainly the Clinton camp must smell blood in the water. Are they circling? And how are they using the fact that it really took a lot of media pressure to get him to disclose where that money that he raised in January went?
Well, I think it's a good question of how this actually plays out politically, to the point that was just made. Yes, I don't think that as a general rule the public is terribly worried about how the media is treated, but I think there are a lot of voters out there who are concerned about the extent to which Donald Trump tells the truth about what he's doing. I don't know that Hillary Clinton's going to persuade a lot of people who are already skeptical of, or who are not already skeptical of Donald Trump, to be skeptical of Donald Trump. I don't know that she's going to be able to persuade anyone who is a fan of Donald Trump to come to her side. But I do think that to the extent that we can, as the media, point out here are the things that Donald Trump is doing and here's how it conflicts with what is actually happening, I think that that is advantageous to Hillary Clinton simply by virtue of the fact that often those things are not in sync.